Hello, my friends, and welcome back.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be taking a look at a clip of a fat activist saying the term midsize is offensive. We're also going to be taking a look at a couple of bonus clips revolving around the fat spectrum and people saying that there isn't enough plus-size representation. Before we proceed, please click the like button so that I may apply comb to mustache. Alright, she's going to be responding to this comment that reads, midsize, I don't know how that's offensive.
Okay, so I did not intend to enter midsize discourse whenever I made that TikTok, but since there's a conversation happening, I do want to talk about it.
Translation, you didn't want anybody to respond to all the ridiculous stuff that you said.
So I want to preface this by saying that I personally don't care what labels people choose to identify with, and I don't think that midsize is offensive. I just think that there are some perspectives to consider before,
I'm guessing that you did call it offensive before, which is why they're leaving this comment saying, I don't know how that's offensive, in response to your previous video.
Using the term midsize. So for starters, I want to talk about the fat spectrum. So I pulled this from an article called Understanding the Fat Spectrum. Here it is.
One of my favorite pieces of literature.
So essentially what this explains is that people in not thin bodies.
People in not thin bodies. That's how we're referring to it as now. Okay. So we're no longer embracing the term fat. Gotcha.
Experience privilege on a scale. And
the scale?
whether or not you choose to identify with these labels on the fat spectrum, I think it's still important to acknowledge that there is privilege that is size-based in the fat community and among non-thin people. So the people who are larger fats are going to be folks who experience more barriers to everyday life because of their size.
Yeah. Because of the things that you did to yourself, you have more troubles in life. Not sure why you're telling us about that. An alcoholic gets more and more barriers the more drunk that they get, the more incompatible they are with society. Because of their own doing, so.
But we're not gonna talk about that in this video. We're talking about small fats and mid fats. So people on the smaller end of the spectrum are people who are gonna benefit from the most privileges despite being in a body that's not thin.
It's not privilege to get the results of your hard work. It's called a reward. You worked hard, now you're thinner, now you can fit in the chair. You worked hard, now you got a promotion at work. You worked hard, now you got a degree, etc. Hard work precedes any reward, typically.
So this means that maybe they find it hard to find clothes at the store, but they can still find something. Or they might find a seat at a restaurant uncomfortable, but they can still sit in it. Or a plane ride might be uncomfortable, but they can still buckle the seatbelt.
Right, but people larger than that cannot.
These are all things that are barriers that these folks face on a much larger scale than smaller fats.
On a much larger scale. Sorry. The whole purpose of this scale is to say that the larger you get, the more oppressed that you are. But you're the one that put yourself there, so who's oppressing you? You. So who can help you? You. How can I help you with the oppression that you're doing to yourself?
So what does this have to do with the term midsize?
I don't know, man. I'm confused.
I find that creators who label themselves midsize often fall into one of two camps. Either they are a size 12, 14, 16, and they are choosing the label midsize, which in that case, I would say, you aren't midsize, you're plus size.
Okay, they can't just call themselves whatever size they want. If you call yourself midsize, but you're actually quite large, then larger people get butthurt because they're like, if you're calling yourself a midsize, then what do you think of me? I guess.
And in that case, feels like they are trying to distance themselves from the label fat, like it's a dirty word.
Well, they're allowed to refer to themselves however they want. If it's making you feel some kind of way, that's your own problem.
Or they're creators who are a size 4, 6, 8, 10. And in that case, I am so sorry to be the first person to tell you this, but you're just straight size.
Okay, well, I mean, all these definitions have changed. What people are calling chubby today used to be called morbidly obese, you know? As everyone gets larger and larger, this coping scale has become more prevalent, because that's what it is. It's a copium scale. I'm guessing that the fat spectrum was created by death fats, which is an interesting term. You don't hear them reference that one too often, but they're the ones who came up with it, so.
Now, the response to these that I'm most familiar with is something along the lines of, I don't feel like there's a space on the internet for me. I feel like nobody makes clothes my size. And I feel like it's really hard to shop for my shape and size. And all of those things can be true. And if you are under a size 12, you still benefit from all of these privileges that no one on the fat spectrum benefits from.
Just because you can't walk up a flight of stairs doesn't mean I have a privilege because I can. It's the result of my own work. If you work hard and get a promotion at work, is it a privilege or is it a reward for the hard work that you did? This isn't that difficult to wrap your head around. I know that we all want to make excuses so that we have no ownership in the bad parts of ourselves, but when we do that, it means we also have no power to change. If none of this is my fault, then I also don't have the power to change any of it. By the way, I finally cut my hair.
Even if it's hard to find jeans or a swimsuit or feel like you have a place on the internet, I think it's important for mid-sized creators to acknowledge that they are not the most marginalized people on the internet.
Who cares? Why are we in some sort of competition to see who's the most marginalized? What the hell does that do for you? The race to the bottom is a pointless race.
And that actually most brands make their size.
If finding clothes in your size is the biggest problem that you have in life, I would say that you're privileged. Right. If somebody wants to call themselves mid-size and be annoyed that they are overweight or whatever, they're free to do so. It doesn't matter if most brands make their size, who cares? Let people call themselves what they want. The fatness spectrum is a coping scale. People on the higher end of it try to be like, hey, you guys aren't as oppressed as me. People on the lower end of it try to be like, hey, at least I'm not as big as those bigger people. It's literally just a coping scale. It's weird to call your movement fat acceptance, and then you don't accept how people want to label themselves or where they want to put themselves within the spectrum. It's all about like, no, you'll go where we label you to be. Next.
This was my thing is, so who's going to represent the fat women if nobody's fat? Mm-hmm. And
why is she getting all preachy about it too? Well, I think that a lot of people are overweight these days, so I don't know what you're on about. I thought the average person was overweight these days.
Proud to be fat.
Absolutely.
Like,
who's gonna represent the fat women if nobody's fat and proud to be fat? I don't know. I don't think you need to be represented. Whatever the hell that means.
Happen to this movement? What's going to happen to the little girls that are coming up that we fought so hard to have that representation for?
What are you talking about? We shouldn't be having representation of obesity that encourages children to be obese because it's very unhealthy, you see. Where's the alcoholic representation? Where's the crackhead representation?
When they're looking around and everybody's got a BBL and everybody's skinny, there's no one out here representing fat. And there's
no one out here representing fat. And what? Can you stay focused here? Okay, so there's nobody out here representing the bigger girls or whatever. I don't know if we should have representation of obesity for children that they can aspire to because it's unhealthy, and I don't think we should be encouraging that. Where's the representation for the little girl that's obese? There shouldn't be any because nobody should aspire to have a health condition.
Hi, I'm fat and I'm just gonna be fat.
Okay. Hi, I'm not fat and I'm not gonna be, so this can go both ways.
Because I love, you know what I mean? I just
Absolutely.
couldn't see myself.
Because I just couldn't see this person cannot finish a statement. They keep stopping and then going into a whole nother spiel, dude. Some people say that dementia is type 3 diabetes. Not sure if you guys have heard that one. Type 3 diabetes is a way of describing Alzheimer's that may occur due to insulin resistance inside the brain. Is that why you can't finish a statement? It's not that dumb to mess up and gain a bunch of weight or go off the rails, but it is dumb to see what has happened and then try to make excuses like a lot of these people in this movement are doing. 'Tis not stupid to become obese. 'Tis stupid to make excuses for the obesity and blame it on everybody else. Yeah, that's not too bright.
skinny body. And I mean, I'm just really passionate about being who I am.
And who you are is the adipose tissue on your body. You don't have a personality. There's nobody behind those eyes. You're just adipose tissue. That's really weird. I'm just a mustache, dude. Every other personal characteristic that I have is completely irrelevant. I'm just mustache. There's nobody in here. Nobody behind these eyes.
And, you know, representing that.
Okay, so that was one of the dumbest tirades that went nowhere that I've ever heard. And I'm pretty sure the clip that we're about to watch is from the same person. Pretty sure this is the same person based on her voice.
They're using the thinner people to create this narrative that, you know, that is better. However, actual body sizes are 14 or above.
Yeah, a lot of people are size 14 or above these days. Yep.
So we really need to continue to push in regards to supporting our influencers of size, being supportive in regards to just curvy bodies and plus size bodies.
What about non-plus size bodies and other bodies? We don't need to be supportive of them.
And continue to push for a space within that industry.
So if everybody starts becoming obese in society, instead of us being like, hey, wait a minute, why is everybody becoming obese in society? We need to just embrace it and have more fat representation.
Because for there to be such a high percentage of bodies that are actually plus size or curvy or larger, and only 2% of them are being represented.
So what she's saying is that everybody is obese, yet only 2% of models are obese.
That is a shame, actually. And it just goes to show how they are trying to push us to the back, and they are trying to make thin better.
Who's they? What are you talking about?
You know, and they're trying to separate us from thinner people. So.
It sounds like you're separating yourself. You've put yourself into this other category. There's us, and then there's them.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit, because while we're making so much leeway and we're seeing so many more plus size influencers come out, and you know, I feel like that we're trending in a sense. Like, trending is good, but change is better.
All right, so that whole spiel was really dumb, and it didn't really go anywhere, and we're all dumber for having heard it. Next.
Listen, I fully understand that the world has told you that your mid-sized body is absolutely disgusting, and therefore you feel you can just pop into this narrative, but...
They did? I didn't know that the world told me my mid-sized body was disgusting. What? Really? What's wrong with you guys? I've been trying to work out the best that I can and take care of myself. Sorry, I'll stop breaking down.
Like, let me remind you that y'all still have a much thinner privilege than fat and plus size people. So I'm gonna need you to start acting like it.
So I'm gonna need you to stop talking to me like I'm a child. Not sure who this person thinks they are. That's really hilarious.
I'm gonna need you to start showing up and remember that you do have that privilege. Societally, you are...
I'm gonna need you to take personal accountability for your own physique. And remember that wherever we are, it's because of the steps that we took yesterday. Just because you have your own personal problems doesn't mean you're gonna talk down to the rest of us like we're children. How bizarre. The second you started talking down to me, my ears closed. The irony of somebody trying to control me when they can't even control their own... Stop.
Are more acceptable than we are. So...
Right, wherever you put yourself is your own situation type deal, lady.
Don't add to the conversation unless you're also going to advocate for people fatter than you. Thank you.
Alright, so that was weird. She wrapped it up by getting all aggressive with us and telling us to go advocate for somebody that's larger than ourselves. My question is, why would I advocate for somebody who doesn't advocate for themselves? Like I've said repeatedly, your weight and where you are in life is the result of the work that you did or did not do. So what do you think of the clips that we just saw? Is the term midsize offensive? Do we need more fat representation? And should we advocate for people that are larger than ourselves? Leave a comment below. Happy Monday, everybody. Anyway, that about does it. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.